All right, so I've hit go live. It's spinning. Now it says you
There
are
we
live.
go.
All right,
There we
so
go.
said the three dots, right? There's a stream. What? That's not what I want.
There we go. We're live there.
Well, obviously that was not what I wanted to do. Oh man.
Well, we're live. It's up.
Okay. So what?
Looks like we lost Reg in the process. Oh, there we go. All right. We're back. We're live. Now we're rolling.
Okay. I don't know how to do all that other stuff, so I'm going to stop. Oh, so Paula found us. I see. All right, so we are live now. We've done a lot of stuff already that you guys all missed out on because the host of the show didn't hit the go to live feed button. So that was fantastic, by the way, just so you all know. You just missed it. So I'm not going to go through and do the music and do all the other stuff again. We're just going to jump right into all these questions here. Again, this is our 2024 NFL Draft Special. For those of you who are with us live, she can see me. Are you running yet? Are you got one eye covered? I mean, I know that guy up here in the corner, and then we got Cowboy Reggie down here at the bottom. He is doing good. Let's jump into this. One of the questions here, which is, we'll look at every team in the draft order and decide when now or when later. So instead of all of us commenting on everything, I'm going to kind of take it one at a time. I'll take the first one. Mitch, you can take the second one since I see you still there. I'm not sure about Reggie yet. I know he disappeared on me again here. Okay. And, I don't see him where I invite him. All right. So when now, when later? Of course, for those of you guys who are tuning in, this is going to be I'm not going to call it a debacle, but it's probably not going to be smooth either. So somewhere in between. Chicago Bears, Mitch. When now, when later?
It's got to be win later, but not too much later. This year, it's not gonna be easy. Drafting Caleb Williams, more than likely, it's gonna be a learning process for that team and for him. A lot of things still up in the air with Justin Fields, and who knows, what's gonna happen for that team and what that offense is gonna look like now with such a big change at quarterback. But I definitely think if they expect to win now, they're going to be disappointed. So if I'm a Bears fan, or if I'm the Bears in general in their organization, I'm saying win later, but not too much later. Maybe 2-3 years down the road, they'll be looking to really compete and win some ball games. But this year, they just got to be happy with Caleb Williams learning how to play quarterback in the NFL and building that confidence. Because if it goes poorly, you can't just call after war with them.
All right. So the Chicago Bears, you said, are win later, but not that much later. Reggie, let's take number 2. I'll go to you. The Washington Commanders. Are they under win now, or are they under win later, sir?
And that's an interesting one. Being NFC East guy, I believe their fan base thinks they're going to win now based on their free agency pickups. But I think anytime you bring in a rookie quarterback, there's a learning curve, and it's going to be a couple years before they see that success. Now, they've built a pretty decent team in free agency, but I'm still going to say they're win later.
Okay. So win later it is for the Washington Commanders. I'll take the Patriots. The Patriots are win never.
Yeah, right.
That's a debacle right at the moment.
Yeah.
We'll just kind of leave it at that. They are a distant win later. I don't even think they're thinking about winning now. Mitch, the number 4 team in the draft is Arizona Cardinals. So they win now or they win later, sir?
This one's a tough one because I think you and I both have a little bit of homerisms for these guys, being that we both live in Arizona now. I think they are a win now team. I think they, with Kyler, if they can keep their team healthy and especially keep Kyler healthy, they're a win now team. They were as good of a 4-win team as there could be last season. So I think they're kind of trending in the win now, but yeah, they've got to do a lot better than 4 wins. Like
Well,
they did
they
last
had
year.
they had one really good win, Mitch.
Yeah,
I could
exactly.
testify to that. They
Best,
kicked the crap out of my Cowboys out of nowhere. We were like, what is going on? But
yeah,
yeah,
best 4-win team I've ever seen. That's for
yeah,
sure.
they do have some talent.
Yeah,
Well, they beat the Eagles for you too, right?
We
yeah.
appreciate that. That's like you said, that's got to be the best 4-win team in the league last year, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
All right, Cowboy Reggie. How about the Chargers? Win now, win later.
Well, I think they can win later because with Harbaugh coming in, he's going to want to build the team his way. So I almost think he does not want to win now because he's not going to be able to bring in the guys he wants to bring in. So I think it's a win later, and I think again, like the Commanders, their fan base wants to win now, but it's going to take some time. One thing I excited about with the Chargers, I'm not a big Harbaugh fan, but Poona Ford, I live on Hilton Head Island, South Carolina, and Poona Ford is a local kid, went to Hilton Head High School. He was Mr. Football, South Carolina. He went on to University of Texas. He's bounced from Seattle to Buffalo, and now he's with the Chargers. So I actually know his dad pretty well. I'm not going to sit here and claim I know Poona. I don't, but I know his father, and he's a local kid. We're going to be cheering hard for him. So kind of hope they win now for his sake, but I think with that new coach coming in and as powerful as he's going to be and how much say he's going to have, he's going to build that team his way. So let's go with win later.
Okay, so win later on the Chargers. So the New York Giants is the one that I get to take here. So the New York Giants are in a crazy predicament right now because it's going to be interesting to see what they're going to do at quarterback. I see the big thumb down there from the Cowboy guy.
We hope they stay with Daniel Jones. That's what we hope.
Well, I think they almost have to, but how long are they going to is the question. So I'm going to actually going to put them as a win now team because I think that they don't have much of a choice. Daniel Jones is in a smaller contract, and they're going to scramble and try to do what they can. I'm just not sure if it's going to work. So the Giants pick at 6. At 7, Mitch, the Tennessee Titans. Win now, win later.
Oh, this is a really tough one.
We've gone to you, by the way, just so you know.
What was that?
I said you have said that for every team we've gone to you with already so far. Just so you know.
Well, they are. Yeah, I don't know if it worked out that way. I think you're doing it on purpose now because it is. It is a tough one. I think they're win later. I think they're a few years away still. Will Levis has shown some bright spots, but not anything that would make you super confident that he's going to be, a franchise QB or even a long-lasting QB in the NFL. So I think they're a win later. I don't think they're terribly far off, but they have a lot of question marks that they have to figure out still.
Okay. Atlanta Falcons, Reggie, win now, win later.
Falcons are always win later, right? They're always rebuilding. That's one of our local teams down south, so they get a lot of coverage. I'm not sure they're ready to win now. I think they're going to have to build all over again, so I'm going to go with win later on them.
Okay. Chicago Bears, I will take. I agree with what Mitch said earlier. They are a win later team, but they're not like win 5-6 years later. They're win 2 laters, maybe 3 years later at the most. So we will go with a win later, but they've also got to start making moves now to win now. I just don't think we should expect them to win now. Okay, so I'll give you this one, Mitch. This will be an interesting one, and it'll probably be a little bit more difficult than some of the other ones. The New York Jets, win now, win later.
The Jets are both because this year they need to win now with Aaron Rodgers, and then after this year without Rodgers, it'll be a new era, and they will be winning later. So they'll need to win this year. They're going to have a good year. with Aaron Rodgers. It's going to be the only year they have him. And after that, they'll figure it out. But right now, they cannot have another year like last.
Okay, so Mitch, talk some more because we lost you. Your audio went out.
Yeah.
Of you.
Yeah, I can hear you, Mike, but I can't hear Mitch.
Okay, so Mitch, Reggie, and I can't hear you. So just so you know, I'm gonna. So
How's
There he
that?
goes. He's back.
How's
oh,
that?
he's back.
You got me?
Glad you're back,
Yeah.
sir. We missed you for very long. All right.
How's that audio? I might just stick with that instead of the
Yeah.
headphones then.
No, that
Yeah,
audio is fine.
Okay.
Okay, so the Jets are both win now and win later because of the Aaron Rodgers situation that they've got. That was Mitch's take there. The Minnesota Vikings pick at number 11. Reggie, now later, buddy.
I mean, I think they're in a tough situation because the Packers and the Lions are so strong right now. I think both of them have really high expectations. I don't see three teams in that division going to the playoffs. I think they beat each other up, and I think Minnesota gets the worst of that. So I'm going to go with win later on them.
Okay. Win later on them. That means I get to take the next one, and you're looking at me and watching me like, what is this guy doing? I'm trying to look on all the platforms to see what's going on. The Las Vegas Raiders. No, sorry, I'm skipping the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos at 12 are next. They are definitely a win later team, but they've got some pieces. They just need a good quarterback. They just got what's his name from the Jets. I saw where they traded for him a couple of days ago.
Zach Wilson, yeah.
Yeah, Zach Wilson. You're right. I'm not sure if that's the answer, but I guess time will tell. So I'm going to go win later on the Broncos, and Mitch, you get to go now or later on the Raiders, buddy.
Raiders are also going to be win later. I do like them bringing in Antonio Pierce and then making his head coach, but same thing. Big question mark at QB. I think he named Aiden O'Connell as the starter, and they've got to do a lot better than that. So, yeah, they're a win later for sure. But I will say trending in the right direction. I like what they're doing, and I honestly want to see the Raiders do well again. But it's just, again, a few question marks.
All right, so let me interrupt what we're doing right here because I can see that we are live on a couple different spots. If you go to @WeLikeSportsPC on Twitter, that is the We Like Sports spot. We are live on that. And I can also see us live on their Facebook feed as well, the We Like Sports Facebook feed. So both of those we are currently live on. All right. So, Reggie, I believe you are next, and you have the New Orleans Saints. Now or later, sir?
Hey, they're right down the road from me right now. I'm on the road, and I'm in Biloxi, Mississippi. So 40 miles, maybe 50 miles away from New Orleans. Let's give them some love. I think they're going to win now. I have no reason to say that, but I just feel it.
like
Feeling the luck. Hey, there's a casino outside my window over here, so I'm feeling the luck for New Orleans. Let's go win now.
All right. NOLA. Sounds good. Indianapolis Colts pick at number 15. The Colts are in one of those little weird windows as well. They're probably more later than now, so that's kind of what I'll go with. But we'll question to build up on other questions here. So I'm going to go later for the Colts. Mitch, you got the Seattle Seahawks, buddy. What do you think about them? Are they a now win team or a later win team?
They're later as well. Losing Pete Carroll, they got to find their new identity. It'll be tough. Obviously, a new regime change in Seattle, so they're going to be a win later. Geno Smith kind of regressed last year. Didn't really look like the same guy at all points of the season. So they'll be a win later.
All right, so a win later for the Seahawks. The Jacksonville Jaguars are Reggie's team now. Win now, win later, sir.
I mean, they got the pieces. They got the quarterback. They had a little bit of an issue last year, and some people are getting off the wagon as far as Trevor Lawrence goes. But I think he just a little bit of a felt the pressure last year and the expectations, and he had a rough year. I think he bounces back and they win now.
All right. So win now for the 17th pick in the 2024 NFL draft, which is the Jacksonville Jaguars. The 18th pick belongs to my hometown team, which is the Cincinnati Bengals. I am from the Cincinnati area originally, so not that I was counting ahead and made sure I got this one or anything, but we'll just go with that. So
nobody's going to believe that, but yeah, you stick to it.
Right. I didn't count about Detroit or anything yet. I don't know who's going to have that crappy team, but we'll see. The Bengals may be one of the biggest win now teams because of their receiver situation. I mean, they've got to get to the playoffs, and I think we all expect them to do some really good things. So hopefully they will be able to do that. And I'm going to say that my Cincinnati Bengals, who pick 18th, are a win now team. Let's try to find out if Mitch is going to say win now or win later for the 19th pick in this year's draft, which is the Los Angeles Rams. Go ahead, Mitch.
Rams are a win now team. Had a lot better year last year than I think anybody thought going into the season. And to kind of build off that, they need to keep winning to, one, keep Sean McVay around and keep him out of retirement, and maybe get an extra year or two out of Matt Stafford. So definitely keep winning now. I think, losing Aaron Donald, that's going to be a huge hit, but definitely still in the win now mode.
All right, so still in the win now mode. Reggie, I see you put out there that we are about to go live. You knew it, and we are live right now. A bunch of different platforms. Right. So I'm going to retweet that out for you so that you guys can see Reggie and know where to find him at. He is on the clock right now with the 20th pick in this year's draft, which is the Pittsburgh Steelers, sir. Win now, win later.
Whoa, yeah. I mean, the Steelers made some moves. I mean, they're a playoff team, and they got a couple quarterbacks over there now. They're probably going to pick someone to complement. I'm not sure if it's going to be Fields or Wilson, but I think they're in a good situation, better situation than they were last year. So I'm going to say they're both. I think they're young and they're building. They're going to win later, but I also think they could get back into the playoffs and win now.
All right. That's a pretty interesting take. And, yes, they've got some pieces I got to figure out over there in Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah. The Miami Dolphins picked 21st, Mitch. Now or later, buddy?
Oof. You're skipping out on some, huh? But I'll take win now. They're going to be win now.
Four things at once, all right? My wife already says I can't multitask, all right? I'm just making it to where now she can watch this show and say, see, I told you.
Yeah, they got to keep Tua healthy and they can win now. They also have to figure out what Tua's identity as a quarterback is, and kind of, feed to his strengths. But they can be a win now team, definitely, obviously, with the roster that they've assembled. It really just comes down to, is Tua going to show up and how is he going to show up?
Okay, so I'll make sure I take a few of these teams towards the end here. I'll stop jumping on all these other platforms and looking at all this other stuff. So if you guys want to leave any comments, you can. I guess it looks like there's a comment button here on this streaming service. Paula's left a few things for us. They're all nice words of encouragement. We appreciate that, ma'am. As we go on here, it looks like there's about 35 people with eyeballs on us right at the moment on different platforms, so we appreciate that. And I want to go to Reggie because the number 22 pick in the draft is the Philadelphia Eagles. I know he loves this team, being Cowboy Reggie. So talk to me. Win now, win later, buddy.
Oh, yeah, they're a win now team, right? I mean, they were in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. They got, they've lost some players, but they've got the stars are there, the receivers, the quarterback. They're going to be rebuilding some of their line through the draft. I don't like that position because they're picking two spots before my Cowboys, and I'm afraid they're going to steal one of our linemen. But they're a win now. They're looking to get back to where they just were 2 years ago. They're not looking to rebuild. So they're a win now team for sure.
All right, now I'm going to be really nice to you. 23rd pick is the Minnesota Vikings. We've already talked about them. There's no need to do them again. But the 24th pick, as you just alluded to, is the Dallas Cowboys. So, Ray, Jim, I'll let you take this one, too. Tell me, are the Dallas Cowboys win now or win later, sir?
Well, they're all in, right? Jerry said we're all in.
Well, that's what Jerry said.
We did a recent episode, a few weeks ago before we went out on our hiatus. The episode is called All Out. We think Jerry's all out on free agency, and that's held true. Yeah, we're a win now team. I mean, as bad as free agency appears to be, CD Lamb is there, Dak Prescott's there, Micah Parsons is there, Trevon Diggs is back, Deron Bland is there, DeMarcus Lawrence is there. The core is there. They need to win now. And we're going to try to beef up that offensive line if Philly doesn't steal our Jackson Powers Johnson should be sitting there at 24 unless Philly grabs him. And I think they're going to start rebuilding that line, and they're a win now team for sure.
Now, you just jinxed it because all of the Philly management watches this show, right? Even though it's the very first one we're doing.
I mean, as soon as Kelsey retired, and most of the Cowboys fans are like, yes, Kelsey retired. I said, no, they're going to take our guy. We need a center. They need a center. I see a lot of these mock drafts, which I know you're going to get into later. And they don't have them taking JPJ, but I think they might just to spite us. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a fun Thursday night. I can't wait.
It will be fun Thursday night. I agree with that. So the Dallas Cowboys pick at number 4. I'm going to do 25 and 26, which are 25 is the Green Bay Packers and 26 are the Buccaneers. So I think both of these teams are in win now modes right now. It will be interesting to see how Mr. Love there in Packers is going to do if he gets to know weapons around him. And I think it'll be even more interesting to see what Johnny Manziel will do in is that right? Am I saying
Johnny
right?
Manziel.
No. Who's the quarterback in Tampa? It's not Manziel.
It's just another Cleveland draft pick that they ran out of town. Baker, yeah.
Yeah,
Baker Mayfield. I make that mistake or comparison all the time. Manziel, Baker. The difference is Baker went on somewhere else and did well. That's it.
Right, that is the difference. You are correct. All right, so that's the Packers and the Buccaneers. I believe both of them are in win now mode at 25 and 26. 27 is the Arizona Cardinals. Again, we've already discussed them. That's their pick that they get from Houston. So, Mitch, I'm setting this up for you, buddy. 28 is the Buffalo Bills, and then 29 is the Detroit Lions. So, Buffalo, are they win now, win later, and then you'll take Detroit too, sir?
Buffalo Bills are a win now, but they got to figure out who's going to be catching those balls because they got nobody right now at wideout or really any skill position. So they really got to figure out their offense and what weapons they're going to have going forward. But they're definitely a win now. I think anytime they have Josh Allen, you're a win now team. But they really got to figure it out. I don't know what their plans are for the draft, but it's got to be a big one at 28 and maybe even moving up to get somebody out there to help Allen at QB. Obviously, me, Lions, they're a win now. As Reg was saying earlier, like the NFC North is a really tough division right now. These teams just kind of beat the crap out of each other, and they plan to do that next year as well. Obviously keeping most of the roster together this year and trying to go back and do the same thing they did last year, just without that last second half in the NFC Championship game. And I think they'll be in a good spot to do that. So definitely a win now team still. And they're gonna come back with a chip on their shoulder and definitely be ready to compete, at least for this year.
All right, so we got 3 teams left. I'll take the first one. Mitch, you can have the second one. And then Cowboy Reggie, I'll give you the last one here as we go. And we're actually just wrapping up question 1 of 6 here. So it'll be the Baltimore Ravens for myself. It'll be the 49ers. Mitch, you'll take that one. And then the Chiefs. Cowboy Reggie, you'll have that one in just a second. So 30 is the Baltimore Ravens. Obviously, they're in win now mode. I think they're in a bad spot, to be honest with you. They're losing. They've lost some people this offseason. But yet people still have really high expectations for them. So I think this draft is a pretty big deal for them. We will talk about it in a few moments. That's what we're going to go from here is, the second question is to use the information that we have given here, and we're going to do the last 2 picks. Will they be able to, some of these teams going to have to move up or move back, or, that's kind of what we're going to discuss next. And I really think the Baltimore Ravens are in that spot. How about the San Francisco 49ers, Mitch? Where are they at, buddy?
They're in a win now for sure. I think, there's a clear trend here. Any team that was win now last year, most of the teams that were win now last year had a really good year. They're building on that. They're building that momentum. Definitely still in the win now, and probably will be for quite a while.
Right, kind of you are where you land in the draft, right? If you land at the bottom of the draft, you're probably in a win now mode. Reggie, does that go for the Kansas City Chiefs with the last pick in the first round as well, sir?
As long as Patrick Mahomes is behind center, they're win now. As long as Andy Reid's on that sideline, they're win now. I'd never doubt them from repeating or coming back into the playoffs, even when it looks like they're down a little bit and they may not have home field advantage, and it looks like they're struggling, and then it's like they start their season in the playoffs. So, they're until further notice, they're win now.
All right. So we're basically going to go back through the list of the draft picks, and then we're going to be like, okay, instead of doing some kind of a mock, right? Which I don't know about the two of you, but I'm really, really tired of. We'll get into that poll question here in just a little bit, right before we get to our bets here. We are going to get to our bets. I'm really, as you can tell by the line down here, I've switched it. Our co-host is Mitch Moneyline Middlebrook. I gave him that name last week there as he chugs down something to drink in that mystery bottle. We don't know what kind of alcohol it is. It'll be interesting to see. We got 5 different bets that you can make on this year's draft, and I'm sure Mitch has got some great stuff for us. So we'll get to that here in just a few moments. But what we're going to do next is we're going to start going through these teams and saying, okay, do you think these guys will stay pat? Will they go up or down in the draft? So the Chicago Bears are the number 1 pick. Mitch, I'm going to give this one to you, and then Reggie, I'll start with number 2 on yours, and we'll kind of go right down the list real fast here. So Mitch, the Chicago Bears at number 1, are they going to stay pat, or are they going to try to trade out of this pick?
They made it pretty clear they're staying there, and they're going to draft Caleb Williams. So a few weeks ago, I know we were talking, huge debates about, well, what do they really want to do? Do they want to move down? Do they want to keep Fields? They made that choice pretty clear, getting Fields out of there, and they're going to stay there and draft Caleb Williams without a doubt. All
right, sounds good. The Washington Commanders at number 2, Reggie, what are they going to do? Stay pat? Are they going to trade? I've seen a few rumors today. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think they need a quarterback. I don't see them trading out of that. I think they pick up May, and that's going to be their future quarterback. I think, it seems like a slam dunk to me. I'd be shocked if they move out of that pick.
And there's a great article up right now on WeLikeSportsBC.com with our Washington Nationals, listen, the Washington Commanders writer. I'm still in baseball mode, all right? So we got a great article up there on that, as well as a few other articles, one from our Nationals guy, 2 or 3 from our Commanders guy. So that's kind of what we're doing at WeLikeSportsPC.com, is we're getting people who really are big fans of those different teams, kind of like Cowboy Reggie is. He is obviously a fan of the Cowboys, right? And he writes for us at WeLikePC.com as well. And then he even does Notre Dame football, which we may have to get into here in a few moments too. So, yes, the Washington Commanders, as far as Reggie believes, are going to stay right there at that pick. The New England Patriots. I'm going to take this one because I wanted to. I really think the New England Patriots need to get out of this pick. I really do. You guys may not agree with me, and you can differ with me here in a second, but they have so many needs on that team right now. That team's a train wreck, right? And if I understand that they want a franchise quarterback, but do you really want a franchise quarterback with no line in front of him? And do you really want a franchise quarterback with nobody for him to throw to? I don't think so. There's a franchise quarterback in pretty much every draft. You just got to know which one it is. And if they trade out of this pick, and give it to one of these other people down below, trade out with Tennessee, or what if they trade with Chicago and Chicago turns around? Let's just think about this for a second, right? What if they trade with Chicago? They go down to number 9, right? And then Chicago can get Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison in this draft. what a get that would be. So I really think that the New England Patriots should trade out of this pick and try to get multiple picks because they have multiple holes in their team. Yeah, shaking. Okay, so we're just going to move.
I'm with you. They definitely have way too many holes to be picking third. They need to get some more draft picks and set their sights for years down the line, 3 or 4 at the earliest. So yeah, I'm totally with you there. I think that's really going to depend on what the Cardinals need to do as well. The Cardinals would really love to see Marvin Harrison Jr. fall down to 4 and be available for them to pick. And if he does, they're going to stay put. But if he doesn't, they might think about getting out of there and start keeping those phone lines open when and if that third pick is traded to somebody that's going to take Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't know if there's many other people that they would feel comfortable taking at the 4 spot. So I think it really depends what happens to that 3, and they may be moving down if that 3 does get moved.
So it sounds like what you're saying is if everybody stays pat until the number 4 pick, you think Arizona's going to stay pat at 4 too?
Yeah. Yep.
So we'll go with that. I'll wrap that up pretty quick, and we'll move on to pick number 5, which is the Chargers. Reggie, that's yours, buddy. Are they going to stay pat, or are they going to try to trade that pick for something else?
Yeah, I think. I think what Harbaugh might be doing is grabbing JJ and either having him sit behind Herbert, or we get a blockbuster trade and they move on from Herbert and pick up some picks and some other guys to build around. But I mean, I don't agree with that. I think they should keep Justin Herbert. Obviously, I think he's a sure bet, and JJ is a maybe. But the Harbaugh factor that really changes that idea whether they're going to stay put and take that quarterback or trade and build around the quarterback they have right now, which I think he's fantastic. So I think Harbaugh's got something up his sleeve either way. We just don't know what it is. So I'm just, I'm struggling for words here because I don't know what he's going to do. I just don't know what Harbaugh's going to do. I know what I would do, and I would trade that pick. So I think they should and build around Herbert.
Okay, that's what we're after, is to find out what you want to do. So you would trade that pick and build around Herbert.
I would.
I like that. Number 6, the New York Giants. I'll take this one real quick, and then Mitch will get Tennessee Titans at number 7. The Giants are another one of those that, just like Reggie was saying, they've got this quarterback thing, and they're trying to figure out, they're basically juggling these quarterbacks around, trying to figure out what's going on, right? Do they stick with Daniel Jones? Do they get themselves another quarterback? I think the New York Giants could be one of these guys that moves up into the top 3. But regardless, I don't see them staying here. I think they'll either move up and try to take a quarterback that's in that top 3, either May or Daniels, or possibly Williams, but I don't think they'll get to go to number 1. But I could also see them trading down, getting a few more picks, and trying to build up one of their 2 lines, because neither of their lines are fantastic right at the moment. So they could be doing both. But I can't do both. I'm not going to let you guys do both either, so I can't do it. I'm going to say they're going to trade out of this pick, and they're going to go down, and they're going to get some additional draft capital. Tennessee Titans at number 7. Mitch, talk to us. What do you think?
Yeah, I think they're going to stay there no matter what. I think they're staying there, and they've got a lot of options on who they want and who could help that team, no matter what happens in the draft. If teams are trading up and they're picking those skilled players, Marvin Harrison, guys like Malik Neighbors. I think Tennessee they have a lot of different needs that they can fill that early in the draft, and I don't think they're going to be willing to move down, but they can, build up their offensive line. They can get a skill player like Neighbors, a lot of any wide receiver at that point, I think would be fair to take at 7. So I think they're going to stay there, and no matter what happens in the draft, they'll find the best available player to take and add to that team.
We're going to have to get into that later, because that's one of those things that I can't stand. I hate that saying, the best available player. Yeah. I really do. If you are a GM and you are building a team, if you've already got two good cornerbacks and the best player on the board is another cornerback, why in the world would you then take the best available player, right? You take the player that's best for your team, in my opinion. So again, we'll probably jump into that here in just a little bit. The Atlanta Falcons, right down from you where you live out there, Cowboy Reggie. Tell me what they're going to do. Are they gonna stay there, or are they going to do something different, buddy?
Yeah, I have no reason to believe they're going to pull anything there. I think stay there and take the best available. I'm just kidding. Yeah, I think they stay there and they fill one of their needs. That's a high pick. I think they could get a stud there, so I'm going to say they stay there.
The Chicago Bears are next at number 9, and I don't know. It seems like I keep getting these ones that I think they're gonna move out of this spot. I really think Chicago is going to trade some of this other draft capital, and I think Chicago looks at this draft as, you know what, we can get 2 really great impact players. I'm going to say, and I'm going to make kind of a bold prediction here, though. I think the Chicago Bears, before it's all said and done, will pick at number 1, and then they'll pick again before the 5th pick in this draft. So I think they're really going after a high-end receiver to go with their high-end quarterback, and they're going to jump into this draft, and they're going to make all their fans cheer, and they're going to make all those people in Detroit boo. So we'll see how all that works out, but that's just my take here. One of you started to talk. I looked away. I'm sorry.
I agree.
I'm with you, Dave. I think they're gonna make 2 big picks, but I think they could stay at 9 and still make a pretty big splash with Adunze there at wide receiver, and I think they'd probably be happy with that. I don't know how much they really think the difference is between Marvin Harrison Jr. and Adunze or Neighbors. I think it's a big gap, but I'm not in those rooms, so they could be happy staying at 9. But I'm with you. They will make a pretty big splash. Really, just depends what it would take to move up those few spots if they are really high on one of those guys.
I'll tell you what, man. There's a bunch of people in our rooms right now. As far as I can tell, I'm not real good at this thing yet. I'm trying, but it looks like there's 41 eyes on us right at the moment. So we appreciate all 40 of those in Paul, because Paul has been with us since the beginning. We appreciate all of those. And if you are one of those people, thank you guys very much. If you're looking at this later, after we've done recording and all of that, man, this is all still good stuff. Just hang out with us. Leave us a comment here. Come over to our Twitter at the 643 and out pod, and you will get us there. That is myself and Mitch Middlebrook. As you can see there, Mitch put his handle right there on the screen so that you can take your time and write it down and make sure you got it good. Cowboy Reggie there. What is your Twitter handle, sir?
It is a Cowboy _Reg, and that's Reg with a double G. Got to have that double G.
Right, double G. It should be double D for Dallas, right?
Yeah, well, that'd be Cowboy Red.
The Cowboy takes care of that in the beginning, right? All right.
Yeah, that's right.
No, I take that back. I've skipped one. New York Jets. Mitch, you get the New York Jets, buddy. Talk to me. Where are we going?
Yeah, New York Jets are staying there as well. Win now. They want to find somebody that can make an impact at the in the league right away. And to do that, you can't move down and expect somebody to just seamlessly move into your team and really make a high impact on that team. So they got to stay there, if not move up.
Okay. Minnesota Vikings. Reggie, you've got that one. Are they staying in 11 or are they going to move up or down?
Yeah, I mean, to compete in that division, like we said before, you're going to have to make some moves. So I would recommend they make a move there and pick up additional players in a later round maybe, and just, try to build probably for the future. I just don't see Detroit or Green Bay being anything but 1 and 2 in that division this year. So I would move out of that and get additional guys if I were the GM in Minnesota.
And I don't know how this keeps working out, but the Denver Broncos, right, at number 12, that's the next pick that we're looking at. And again, they need a quarterback. I'm not sure if who they just traded for from the Jets, as we talk about the Jets, is the answer for them. But I don't. And Mitch is like, no, he's not. No, he's not.
He's not the answer for anybody.
No, he's not the answer for anybody. Well, I don't know.
Unless you're, 40-something-year-old mother Then he's the answer. He's your answer there.
So yeah, the Denver Broncos.
Mitch knows what we're doing.
PG show, sir. PG show. So it's the Denver Broncos. Do they need to move up, or can they take one of these second-tier quarterbacks? You think and be okay? That's the question. I don't think they can take the second-tier guy. I know that is Michael Penix Jr. That is Bo Nix. One of those guys. I guess maybe if they really, really like him, they'll stay pat and take one of those guys. But I think that's why, like the Cardinals, the Patriots, the Chargers, as we've been talking about, maybe even the Giants, they're in really good spots there at 4, 5, and 6 because these guys and the teams, the Denver Broncos of the world and all that, want to move up into that top 10. And I think you're going to see one of these teams move up to the top 10, maybe even the Chicago Bears from 9 up into the top 5, as I predicted earlier, and they're going to get a ton of draft capital for that spot. So, the first bold prediction was Chicago's going to pick at 1 and then before 5. And my second bold prediction is going to be that one of these teams that's in from 5 to 10 is going to get a big haul for their pick from one of these other teams down there. And I think Denver might be that team that ends up doing that. One of the other teams that might actually do that is the Las Vegas Raiders. And Mitch has got them. Mitch, buddy, what are we going to do here? If you have your Raiders GM hat on, what are you doing, bud?
Yeah, I'll be fielding offers, but I think unless anything's really moving, I'm staying where I'm at. Not really in a spot to be giving up anything to move up, and not really at a spot where they can feel comfortable where their team is at currently and move down. So I think they're in a good spot at 13. I think they're kind of middle of the pack right there, and they could definitely, if they're really high on somebody, wait and just hope that they're still there when they end up picking, and they'll probably stay put.
Okay. So you thinking they're going to stay put? The New Orleans Saints at 14, Cowboy Reggie. What do you think about them and what they're going to do?
Yeah, I mean, that's, like you said, that's kind of middle of the pack. So I don't know how appealing that pick is and what that's going to get you. Can that get you 2 second-round picks? Can that get you an additional third-round pick? You're getting down there where there may not be the players left that you can really wheel and deal that pick. So I think they might be forced to stay put and fill the holes that they need to fill. So I'm going to say stay put there.
Okay, so the Saints will stay put at 14, according to Reggie. I got the Colts at 15, and I keep saying everybody's going to move up, down, all over the place. So I'm just going to tell you that the Colts will stay right there. I think they've got a really good front office, and I bet they've already got on their big board 2 or 3 guys that they think are going to be there right around 15 that will help them out, and they're just going to pick one of those guys. It's the Colts and kind of the Colts, the Seahawks, the Jaguars, the Bengals, the Rams, all of these guys right here, as I give you guys a few people that you guys are going to be looking at here. I think they're all pretty much in that same spot, and it'll be interesting to see what you guys think when we get to you guys. I think they've got like 2 or 3 people on that board, and as long as one of those guys is there at 15, they're just going to snatch them and move on. What about the Seahawks at 16, Mitch?
Seahawks should move down, and I think they're going to. I think they know the kind of the spot they're at. Like I said before, losing Pete Carroll and just finding out what that team is going to look like in the years to come, getting some extra draft capital as much as they can. Maybe if it's just moving down a few spots and picking up another late round pick, I think would go a long way for them. So I think they're going to move down. I think they'll still be picking in the top 25 if they do move down, because they don't want to move down too much. But I think they'll definitely move down from 16.
Okay. I don't think you can really see the televisions in the background that I've got going on, but it looks like Phoenix is about to go down 0-2. They are getting clobbered there towards the end here. Indianapolis 69, Milwaukee 62. You got Winnipeg up on Colorado 1-0. And Tampa Bay and Florida are tied at 2-2. Keep you guys updated on some of the things that are going on outside of this wonderful podcast that we think is the only thing going on. But there are a few other sports events going on right at the moment. The Jacksonville Jaguars are what's coming up on the board next. They pick at number 17, and Reggie's going to tell us what they're going to do with their 17th pick.
I think they got a strong roster. I think they just, like I said earlier, just had a little bit of an off year and a bad finish last season. So I would feel comfortable with them trading that pick and just building, maybe some big boys on the line that you can get later. This is a really deep class of linemen on both sides, on the offensive line and defensive line. So I would encourage them to trade out of that pick and pick up additional guys in the draft and just add to their depth and, their future as well. But yeah, I'd trade out of that.
Okay, so because of the strong team that they have in Jacksonville, Reggie's saying, hey, I think they should trade out of that, get themselves some extra draft capital. That gives me the 18th pick, the Cincinnati Bengals. Mitch will have the Rams at 19, and then the Steelers will come back around to Reggie here in just a moment. The Bengals at 18, man, they need to get somebody else that can protect Joe Burrow. That is their franchise guy. I am tired of seeing him get hurt. I'm tired of seeing him on his back, because it's pretty hard to throw a complete pass when you're laying on your back in the grass. So the Bengals need to get a lineman in front of them, especially on his blind side. So hopefully they stay right there, and as long as there's somebody who they think can do that at that number 18th pick, they take that particular lineman. At 19, we have the Rams. Mitch, up, down, back, sideways, doing a backflip. What are we doing?
I think they're staying there too. I think that's kind of right where they see themselves in the league, if not a little higher, as the top performers go. So I think they like that. They see themselves lower and picking before some of the teams they're competing with and want to be competing with. So I think they'll stay there and try to build a little bit more and maybe replace some of what they'll lose from Aaron Donald. So I think they'll stay there.
All right. Now, Reggie, before you talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers here, you mentioned earlier that there's a bunch of people in this line, both offensive and defensive, in this draft. So that's our next question. So later on, I expect you to throw some big names at us and tell us about these linemen that's in this draft here for us. That'll be question number 3. But right now, we'll finish up question 2, which is the Pittsburgh Steelers. What will they do with their draft pick at number 20, sir?
Yeah, a lot of respect for the Steelers and how they continually get themselves in the mix every single year. I bet you they got their guy already. They know who they're taking, and are going to stay right there and get that guy.
All right. And you know what? I'm not going to say I have respect for them because they're in the same division as my Cincinnati Bengals, but I do think they're a smart franchise. I will give you that.
Yeah.
So you're more than likely right. I bet they do already know, or kind of like saying earlier with the Colts, they've got 1A or 1B, and as long as one of those guys is there, then the pick will come in quick, and they'll be able to do that there in that first round. The number 21 is the Miami Dolphins. I don't know. I think they're a team that can go either way, but I also think, as we talked about earlier, they're a win now team. So they need to get an impact person. They need to get probably somebody on the defensive side. So as long as, and I think there's a lot of offensive players in this draft that are going to go early. So I honestly think that even though Miami is kind of down further in the draft, they'll be able to get the defensive guy that they want pretty much here at this pick. So I'm going to say that Miami is going to stay right here. Philadelphia will pick at 23. At 22. We will skip over the 23 pick because it's the Vikings again, and then Cowboy Reggie's rubbing his hands together right now because he gets to do the 24th Dallas Cowboy pick. So here we go, Mitch. I'll start with you. The Philadelphia Eagles at 22. What are they going to do?
The Philadelphia Eagles are going to take JPJ. No,
they probably are.
They will stay put, and maybe just to spite all the Cowboy fans. Maybe they will, but no, they're definitely going to stay put, if not move up. I don't think what everyone above them will be asking to move up, they will give. So they'll stay put.
All right, so they're going to stay put. Again, the Vikings pick at 23. We've already talked about the Vikings. This is their second pick. They got it from Cleveland through Houston, so we'll move right along to Cowboy Reggie on that number 24 pick. Are they going to stay there? Are the Cowboys going to move up? Are the Cowboys going to move back? How does Jerry Jones say we're all in and stick at 24?
Yeah, I think what I would do in that situation is, JPJ is my first pick. Probably Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma is my 1B, big offensive lineman with a big upside. If those two guys are gone, the Cowboys don't have a 4th round pick because they traded him to the Niners, last season to pick up an additional quarterback. We can talk about that. Trey Lance move, see what they're going to do with him. So if their two guys are gone, I think you trade that pick and you get additional pick maybe in the 3rd, and then you get a 4th round pick, which they don't have now. And all of a sudden you're back up to the same number of picks you had, and there's enough offensive linemen. I think you can get one in the 2nd round. No use jumping on a plan, your 3rd option there. Just pick up another pick in the 4th round and make that right. But if the two guys that I mentioned, if one of those two guys are still on the board, I think they pick them and stay put.
All right, so we got to get into this Trey Lance, Dak Prescott thing later on. But you know what? I think we'll save that for your show, Reggie, which of course is Sons of Star. I'm sure that either myself or Mitch Middlebrook would represent this show well on yours. So again,
love that.
Let's do that. Sons of Star, and the handle for that is @Sons of Star Pod. So fantastic. We'll get into that later on as the football season gets a little closer for us. The Green Bay Packers pick at number 25. They're an interesting spot here because I think they need some kind of offensive weapon to help out Love. And if that person's there, they probably take it. If that person's not there, then they've got a few options here. So, again, I mentioned earlier that I think this is a really offensive high draft, especially in these first few picks in the first few 20 or so. First few 20. Boy, that was great. That was great radio right there. So then those first 20 picks. So you know what? I'm going to say they're going to move down. They're going to give one of these teams like Detroit or Baltimore or San Francisco a leg up a little bit, maybe move up 5-10 picks and allow them to get somebody that's on that board that they're not 100% sure is going to be there once they get there at the bottom. So I'm going to say that the Green Bay Packers will trade and they will get a couple of picks either early in the 2nd round or they're just going to trade down a few picks here in this round. How about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers there, Mitch? What are they going to do?
I think this is a team that actually needs to move up a bit. I think they have a few pieces that they need to add still. I think last year they were playing good ball at, when they needed to the most, but still just in a terrible division, and that's kind of what got them there to the postseason. So I think they need to move up. They're still a few pieces away, and if they do that and they can find a big enough impact player, they can find themselves at least competing for the division and in the playoffs once again. So I think move up for the Buccaneers, and we'll see how far they move up.
All right, so as you guys look at your show notes here, questions 3, 4, and 5, and I know all of you have them right there in front of you, because you're just astute people on this very fantastic podcast here. So we're going to kind of combine 3, 4, and 5 together. So if you want to take a peek at those beforehand, that's kind of what we'll do next for the sake of time, and we'll divide, or we will divide. We will multiply those together and put them all into one thing here in just a moment. The Arizona Cardinals pick 27. We talked about them already. Maybe you weren't ready for this one, but I'm going to give it to you anyway, Reggie. You're going to do 28, the Buffalo Bills. That way, Mitch can do 29 and that one crappy team in Detroit that he really seems to like a lot. So you take Buffalo right now. Mitch, you'll take Detroit here in just a second.
Hey, Buffalo, as you mentioned before, or maybe Mitch did, Buffalo needs a receiver. They lost their WR1. He's gone. He's not in Buffalo anymore. So they need a receiver. They're going to look at that board, and if there is a stud receiver, you mentioned, and I don't want to get his name wrong, the guy out of Washington, Duze, I believe it is. If a guy like that somehow slips down to that spot, I think they grab him. If there's not a receiver there, that's high on their board, take that additional pick and bring a couple in later in the draft and have them compete. But they need something. Josh Allen, if he has to do it all himself, he's going to be, out by week 8 or 9 with injury. So they're going to have to do something to build some offensive firepower around him. this year. So I'm going to say if the guy's there, take him. If not, trade out of that spot.
All right. So, Reggie, you're going to take Detroit. I'll give you just a second here. Mitch is going to take Detroit. Reggie, you're going to do Baltimore in a second, and then I'll take the last two, the 49ers and the Chiefs, and then we'll move on to the next question here. So, Mitch, give us the rundown, buddy. What are your Detroit Lions going to do? I almost said Tigers. I'm in that baseball mode, man.
Yeah, they're going to stay there as well. They're definitely not. They're definitely not moving down out of that. Maybe depending on what they need to give up, they would move up quite a little bit. But again, I think they're fine staying there. I think they know they're really only a few small tweaks, if not one or two pieces away from being back to where they are now. And I think they'll look to stay there.
Okay, so they'll look to stay there at number 29, the Detroit Lions. The Ravens and the 49ers, I think, are really similar here. The Ravens have the 30th pick. The 49ers have the 31st pick. We've talked about this. They're both pretty good teams. They're well done as far as their front office and things go. And just like I know Reggie and I have talked a couple times on a couple of these teams that we have already spoke about, and Mitch, you did it as well. They more than likely have already got it figured out who they're going to take, and they've got like a 1 or a 1A. And most of the time, if those guys are there, their biggest decision is going to be, okay, do we take 1 or do we take 1A? Because they already know that these quarterbacks aren't going to be there at this point or anything like that. So I'm sure they've got linemen picked out or they got cornerbacks picked out or something like that. So Baltimore and San Francisco, I think, are both going to just stay pat right there. What about Kansas City with the final pick of the first round of the 2024 NFL Draft? Reggie, you got this one. Tell us what's going on.
They already know their guy. They're organized. They're the champs, man. They're right where they want to be every single season now. So I don't see any reason. I mean, especially when you're at the bottom of the first round, you've waited so long. I think they know their guy, and I don't see them trading out of that.
Okay, so again, I said that we were going to kind of combine all these together, and we are here. I'm proving my wife right at the moment. I cannot multitask. Okay, there we go. Back to where we need to be. My computer screen went out. I had to type in the password to get it back up again. Okay, so we're going to combine 3, 4, and 5. I'm going to ask each of you. The draft, the 2024 NFL draft is full of good blank, and you put in that position. All right, and then once we get that from you, give me some guys that are in that position that will still be available in the second and third rounds that you think people can grab. And then again, as we combine 3, 4, and 5 together, who needs that position? So give me the one position that you think the draft is full of. Give me a couple guys in the later rounds that qualify in that position. That's why you say that this draft is full of those particular people. And then tell me a team that needs that position and who you think is going to grab one. So Mitch, here we go. Ready? We're gonna prove who can multitask here and who can't, buddy. So we've already proven I can't do that. That's why I'm going last. I'm gonna let you guys take this first. So this year's draft is full of good blank. What's the position?
Defensive tackles. Really good edge talent as far as the defense goes. And I think one guy that's still going to be there and that's going to reunite with his old coach is Chris Jenkins. And I think he's going to be drafted by the Chargers in the second round. It'll be early second round, but I do think he's still going to be there. And I think that just kind of shows the depth of just defensive line in general. Doesn't even have to be edge, but I do think there's a lot in this draft, and a lot are going to be taken early second round.
Man, I tell you what, I thought this question was going to get one of you. It did get Mitch, man. You were smiling so much, your mustache almost disappeared. So this is the first time we can see each other. See, usually we're on an X space, and I'm just listening to you talk. Now I can see you, and it's like, wow, he was really up for that question. So defensive tackle, he says. And then what's the guy's name that's going to go with the Chargers?
It's going to be Chris Jenkins.
All right, so Chris Jenkins.
Defensive for Michigan.
Okay. And, that's the Harbaugh connection, right?
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So Cowboy Reggie, same question. Here we go. The first part is this 2024 NFL draft is full of good what?
Offensive linemen, just deep offensive linemen. Joe Alt out of Notre Dame should be the first offensive lineman taken. I'll make a bold prediction. You got your big four quarterbacks everybody's talking about. I think
Right.
Joe Alt. I think he's going to sneak in there before one of those four, and somebody's going to grab him. That's just we'll see what happens. That's my bold prediction of the night. But yeah, I mean, we got the best center that's probably been in the draft. As far as I could think of, as long as I can think of, I think JPJ is the best center I've seen. We got guys like Tyler Guyton out of Oklahoma that are just a massive, 6'6", 6'7" guy, 340, something like that. Just a specimen. So, I mean, there's just a deep offensive line class, and, in any team that can jump on one of those top 3 or 4 linemen can build a long career around that guy to protect their quarterback and get their run game going. So I'm high on the offensive lineman, and I'm hoping that my team can grab one of those top guys.
All right, so I'm going to take the layup here. The layup is this draft is full of good wide receivers, and I appreciate you guys taking another.
I thought the quarterback would be the layup. I'm leaving that for you.
The layup, I think you're just being nice to the host. Okay. Marvin Harrison Jr., I believe, is definitely the best receiver of this group. Now, it starts to get a little dicey when you get down to, to Neighbors and you get down to a Dunze and a couple of these other guys who are going to be in this draft as well. Brian Thompson Jr., I think, is a guy that we're kind of overlooking from LSU. I think that he'll be a really good day one type starter for an NFL team as well. And as I'm looking at this draft order, and I'm like, okay, who needs one of these guys? I mean, obviously, I think Arizona needs to take Marvin Harrison Jr. at 4. I think the Giants and Tennessee and Atlanta right there in that group all need good receivers as well. So we combine kind of question 3, 4, and 5 there all together as we're getting close to the end of this first hour, even though we started like a little bit late. So which team, this is the 6th question here, which team is the worst destination for a quarterback in this year's draft? Like if you're one of these top 3 quarterbacks and you're watching this go and they go, you are picked by this team, which one of these quarterbacks is going to cry on stage when he realizes what team he's going to? Mitch, I'll start with you.
Well, I don't think he'll cry because he knows already, but I think the track record they have, the worst team to go to is the Chicago Bears. I don't think they can turn anyone into a franchise quarterback, and they've proven that anybody that goes there goes to die. So it's a tough spot when you get drafted at the quarterback position by the Chicago Bears because your work's going to be cut out for you. So it's if it were me, you're not going to be crying because you're the first pick, and a lot of money comes with that. So maybe you could wipe your tears with some $100 bills, but you can't be happy about the position you're going to be in and kind of the development that you're going to see at the quarterback position based on their entire track record of drafting quarterbacks.
But I have to throw some shade out here for a second, buddy, because they're building a pretty decent team in Chicago. Do you really think that Caleb Williams is going to be that disappointed to go to Chicago with some of the weapons that he's going to have around him?
I don't think it's the weapons that they're surrounding him with. I think it's just their inability to turn out back play and have a guy actually be a top quarterback in the NFL. I just don't think the Bears will ever have that. I think it's a curse, and I just don't ever see it happening. It doesn't matter who it is. I think you go there, and whatever happens in your career, it's not good.
All right. Now, Reggie, I'll get to you here in just a second. Mitch, can you see the comments from where you are?
Yep.
Yeah? Okay. All right. Well, you may want to read the last one. All right. Reggie, here's our question. Same question for you. Which team is the worst destination for the quarterback this year?
Well, Mitch, you stole my answer. I would have said Chicago. So I'm just going to drop just drop down and say the Commanders. I mean, I don't want to jinx myself because they're in our division, but like Mitch said about the Bears, I mean, you just haven't had a franchise quarterback in there in a long time, and they just completely changed their coaching staff. Their facilities are not high end. Their field is not high end. The location is tough. It's just going to be a tough situation to go into as a quarterback, I believe. And that's the situation when you're drafted in the top 5. Is those are teams that finished in the bottom 5 the year before, so it comes with the territory. So I would have went with Chicago first, so I'm just going to go with Washington second and say whoever goes there is going to struggle if they're thrown out on the field in week 1. Hopefully they develop them and let them sit behind a veteran first.
Oh, I'm not running you off or anything. Okay, don't think that here. But I want to make sure that we give you your flowers here real quick before you do it, because I know you're visiting family or someone like that. So we had talked earlier, and I know that we certainly appreciate you coming on with us here. Reggie, Cowboy Reggie, is co-host of the Sons of Star podcast. The Twitter handle is @SonOfStarPod. If you want to go over there and see him, he also writes for @WeLikeSportsPC.com. He does Dallas Cowboy and Notre Dame football. So, buddy, what are you working on next for the website as far as writing a story? What's coming up?
Definitely going to cover the Cowboys draft. I started writing a little pre-draft article today. If I can get that done and out before the draft, I will. If not, well, I'll cover what happens in the draft. I did a little bit on Audric Estime out of Notre Dame, which will be in a running back class this year, and he will be drafted, probably not till 3rd round, but I'll get something on Dallas is pertaining to the draft here in the next couple days.
Now, you do the Dallas Cowboys and you also do Notre Dame. Let me put you on the spot here for a second. Is there a person from Notre Dame that's going to be in this draft that you think your Dallas Cowboys have a shot at possibly adding to their team?
Yeah, I mean, it's Audric Estime. That Mike McCarthy went to Notre Dame's pro day. We assume he's not looking at Joe Alt because Joe Alt's going to go high long before the Cowboys get to pick. But I think if the Cowboys don't get Jonathan Brooks in the 2nd round, and if they wait to the 3rd round, he might be gone. And, they don't have a 4th round pick. So all of a sudden in the 5th round, a guy like Audric Estime out of Notre Dame, he might still be there. He had a poor 40 time at the combine. He had a decent 40 time at the pro day, which is still an official time. So his stock has dropped enough, which could be good news for Dallas. I don't see why Mike McCarthy was at their pro day unless he was looking at Audric Estime. So that is one player that out of Notre Dame that we might see. We got Zach Martin right now. Might see Audric Estime in the Cowboys uniform next year. We'll see.
Cowboy Reggie is very active on social media, especially at Twitter. You can find him at Cowboy_Reg, REGG, as you see it right there on the screen. And the last thing I want to say about Cowboy Reggie here, kind of giving you the opportunity to go if you want to or hang out. We do our 5 things that you can bet as far as the draft on. You can stay as long as you want, sir, but I want to make sure we get to all of this. I want to thank you. I want to thank you because you are an Army veteran. Talk to me about the Army a little bit and your experiences with that, sir.
Oh, that's awesome, man. I appreciate you saying that. I've been out since the 90s, but I was a U.S. Army military policeman, served in the Gulf War, did my training in Fort McClellan, Alabama, which is closed now, but spent a little time down south, and I was a military policeman. My co-host and my son is active Air Force, and that's why I'm here in Biloxi right now visiting. He's at Keesler Air Force Base. So we're a military family, and we appreciate you thanking us like you did there, and it's a pleasure to serve.
Oh, no problem, man. I'm a first responder. Mitch can't even be in this conversation, so don't even smile, Mitch. So we got the Army guy, we got the first responder guy up here. So I at least understand, and I'm sure Mitch understands as well. I'm just giving him a hard time, but serving in the military, you never know when you're going to come home. Serving as a first responder, you just never know what's going to happen on any given day. So you making that sacrifice, and you be willing to make that sacrifice, should be something that you are thanked for. And we really appreciate it very much, sir. Thank you very much.
We appreciate you as a first responder. That's something that, I did my 4 years, and you're still doing time at that, and you never know what's going to happen out there. So we appreciate you, Mike, as well.
Thank you, sir. I do appreciate that. Cowboy Reggie has been with us. We appreciate him. Again, you can find him. Let me make sure I get all this stuff right. At Cowboy_Reggie on his Twitter account. He is the co-host of the Sons of Star podcast. Let me just put it right over there on the bottom line for you one more time here. And you can check him out on his X handle at Sons of Star Pod. Thank you very much, Reggie. I don't know what you're going to do here, but I'm going to give you the chance to get off if you want to, or you can.
Like I said, I'm visiting family, and just got checked into the hotel, and got all logged in and jumped on the show. So I'll unpack my stuff and have a beverage, and I might come back and listen to a little bit of you guys here after I get my stuff situated.
All right, sounds good. So I tell you what, there's one other thing I need you to do. You need to have three. Wait a minute. Let me get there. We go. 3. The camera thing's backwards. It's killing me. 3 beverages. 1 for you, 1 for me, and 1 for Mitch. But make Mitch's a double. All right. Oh, there he goes. He is set and ready to get it. Thank you very much, Cowboy Reggie. Certainly appreciate you. We will have him on as a guest soon. Again, I am sure. Thank you, buddy.
It was a pleasure. Thank you, guys.
Thanks,
Take care.
All right, Mitch, so it's you and me. We're going to go through, and I am sure that you've got some great things for us here. 5 bets that you can make on the 2024 NFL Draft. Give us your first one, sir.
Yeah, I'm going to toss a few of these around, and I think I'm going to start with the ones that I like the most, and what I would put my money on right here. I think my laptop's getting a little hot, so my computer's running a little slow here, so excuse me if I'm jumping around a little bit. But the one I like the most is a draft prop that we have. It is draft position. So who do we think what do we think this person will be drafted over under the draft position? So overall, total number of draft picks right here, I have Brock Bowers at 12.5. The line is he is slated to go pretty easily under 12.5 at -250. I'm actually going to take the over. I think some people are going to pass on Brock, and he's not going to be in the top 12 draft picks. I think he'll go sometime around the top 15, but I think 12 is a little low, and I think Vegas might have this one wrong. So I like the money here on this one. The other ones, and the reason I like this more is because there's a plus sign next to that 200. So still pretty decent value. The rest of these, I think it gets a little tougher because Vegas somehow always knows what they're doing. The next one that I really like is the first running back selected choice here. Jonathan Brooks is at -150. I think there's a really good chance that Blake Corum actually is the first running back selected in this draft, especially if Jim Harbaugh wants a reconnection with him. I think they're going to Jim Harbaugh wants a reconnection with him. I think they're going to do some finagling and try to make that happen and reconnect with him there. So I really like that there. He's plus 400 to be the first running back selected in the draft. I think that gives good value there as well. Just really kind of depends on what shakes out and how much pull Jim Harbaugh has. But if they're bringing him in there, I think that's a really good move that they can take there.
I think you're going to go on to 3. Hang on here, buddy. I think you're going to go on to 3 before you jump on to your third one. You're just on a roll, man. Calm down. The hamster is flying around that wheel, buddy. Okay, so let's go back to your first one, Brock Bowers, right?
Yep.
You don't think – I'm sorry?
Yep. I was agreeing. Brock Bowers, yep.
Yeah, okay. So you don't think he's going to go to the Jets at 10?
I don't. I think the Jets aren't. I mean, they definitely need him. But I think that there's going to be somebody that moves up, and that might be the Jets moving down a little bit because there's no real concern that Brock's going to be taken before them. And I think they'd feel comfortable moving down closer to 15, maybe 14. And still being able to get who they want. And I think they will have Brock, but I think they'll move down a little bit there and kind of be able to get the best of both worlds.
All right, so I want to stay with this one here for just a second because I think what we need to figure out here, if we're going to do this, I'm trying to get more of a gambling mindset, right? So I think if that's what we're going to do here, then we need to figure out is he being the best tight end, and you're going to agree he's the best tight end, right?
Yep.
Okay. So if he being the best tight end, is he then better than Marvin Harrison Jr. at the wide receiver? Is he better than Neighbors at the wide receiver? Is he better than Roma Doomsday at the wide receiver spot? Is he better than maybe even Brian Thomas Jr. at the wide receiver spot? Because I think if teams would want an offensive player, they're going to have that choice between the receiver and the tight end. So if they choose the receiver over the tight end, I see where you're going here, and that's where I'm assuming that's where you're kind of thinking the money is at.
Yeah, I don't think he's better than those guys. Well, at least the top three guys. When you're talking about Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, Adunze, I don't think he's better than those guys, and I think those guys are all going to go before him in the draft. But I think the Jets have a clear need at tight end. They have some wide receivers that can do it in Wilson. And I don't think they really see that as adding as much as Brock Bowers would for him at tight end. So I think those guys the top three wide receivers will go before Bowers. But I definitely think Bowers is going to be the number one tight end as he is the best in the draft for sure.
So then your second one was the running back. And who was that again, sir?
Yep, that's Blake Corum. I think he's going to be the first running back off the board. He's currently at plus 400 to do that. Favored is, let's see, I believe that's Jonathan Brooks. Yes, Jonathan Brooks is the favorite to be drafted as the first running back in the draft. But I think, if Chargers don't go wide receiver like I think they will, I think Blake Corum will be the first running back drafted, and I think it'll be Jim Harbaugh's influence on the Chargers getting him to LA with him.
All right, I'm having trouble with this television in the background, as you can probably tell, so I keep turning around and flipping it on. It's one of those shared accounts, so everybody and their mom must be on the television all at the same time because nobody wants to listen to me, and they don't want to see my wonderful face. And man, look at how big that thing is in the bottom corner. Whew. All right. So what's your third pick here in the best of five we can do on the 2024 NFL draft? Where are you putting your money there, Moneyline, Mitch Middlebrook?
Yeah, this one I'm going to just straight up take the pick. Actually, I think that I'm gonna go with something different than what Vegas thinks. Again, Vegas currently for the number 2 pick for the Washington Commanders, they're pretty confident that they'll be taking Jaden Daniels. But I think the Commanders are actually going to surprise some people and take Drake May instead. So Jaden Daniels is minus 400 to be the second pick in the NFL draft. Right now, Drake May is plus 330. So some good value there if they do end up taking Drake May. And I think it's obviously I'm not an insider, but I think it's a lot closer with those two guys than a lot of people think. So I could see them going either way there. I like Drake May as the number 2 pick in the NFL draft at plus 330 because there's some good money there, and I think it's a good chance that it will happen as well.
All right. Well, I hope some of our staff is listening here because we got some Washington writers. In fact, we got 3 that we just brought on here in the last couple of weeks. One that's doing mainly basketball for us, one that's doing mainly Nationals baseball, and, of course, one that you probably just sparked their interest in that's doing football for us. Let me rattle off a few of these people. We got Nick for the Cubs. We got Shelley for the Yankees. We got Yusuf for the Yankees as well, and Rob Henderson. He does all kinds of stuff, but his main focus is the Yankees. Jason Crum does the Mets. You got Salvi, who's still on here. I know she has changed her name back to Gracie, which I guess we haven't updated yet. We got to hurry up and take care of that. JJ does our wrestling stuff for us. We're going to have a few people on there as well. Of course, we just had Cowboy Reggie Sanderson, who does the Cowboys in Notre Dame for us. Vince is one of our big editors, and he does a lot of boxing. He does a lot of MMA for us. Keith Allen is also one of our show talents. And, of course, we got Ed in Columbus. If you watched the show earlier today, the We Like Sports show, now we are a part of that network, but if you watch the actual We Like Sports show, they were on a couple hours before us. We get to follow them on Tuesdays. So, again, all of those people who are doing some great things with us. You've given us 3 of the bets. You got 2 more left, sir?
Yeah, and I'm going to kind of double dip on this one because as I mentioned earlier, Blake Corum, I really do think is going to reunite with Jim Harbaugh, and there is a player drafted by prop that you can take on many sports books. Commonly, if you're a bettor, this one has green, white, and black in its logo. So if you're a common bettor, you know where I'm talking about, and I will give you this line because I think this is the best money you're going to find, and it's going to help you make some money because Blake Corum is currently plus 190 to be drafted by the LA Chargers. And I think it's almost certain that Jim Harbaugh wants to reconnect with Blake Corum, and I think he's going to get that done. And I think Vegas even knows he's going to get it done because that is the favorite team for him to go to. So I'll give you that one at 4. Blake Corum reuniting with Jim Harbaugh on the LA Chargers at plus 190.
All right. So the other thing that I heard is we need some sponsorships. That's what I heard. I mean, I know this is our first show, so, we got to give out colors, and, we ain't giving that stuff away for free. So we need some sponsorships. Some of you guys that are out there that are listening right now, if you work for a couple of these companies and you're like, yeah, these guys don't suck too bad, maybe we'll give them some money. We'll take it. And we'll do our sponsorship stuff for us here. We appreciate that, Mitch. So you've given us 4. Talk to me about the 5th bet. Now, you are all in on Corum, aren't you, buddy?
I really am. I think he's the best running back in the draft. I really do. I know Brooks, a lot of people are high on, but I really do think he's the most all-complete, all-around running back in the draft, and I really like him. So I think that's going to be an easy one for me. And I will just say, hey, if we have any sports books out there that want to, sponsor the show and get a lot of shout out and get a lot of eyes on their platform, we'll even just take free bets. I mean, you give us a few free bets to put down. We'll start there, and then the bidding will go up. So yeah, definitely open to a little bribery or whatever you want to call it. To get some shout outs going through these future podcasts. The last one I'll give you, okay. And this one is going to be for the worst money, but I think it's absolutely impossible that this will not happen. That it's you can choose who will be drafted first. So they call them draft matchups. They place 2 players against each other, and you choose who will be drafted first. Currently, they have. Yeah.
No, I just said this is interesting. I thought we were going to be able to hear each other better than we could on the X-Base, but I don't know. Well, as we keep going, we'll figure it out. So one of these things to where it's like, okay, we keep pausing because it's like, oh, am I stepping on the other guy? And we're 2 pretty nice guys, so we don't want to step on each other. But you're picking 2 players against each other. Go ahead, Mitch.
Yep. So you're picking who you think will be drafted first. And this matchup's a pretty easy one for me. I think it's Malik Neighbors versus Rome Odunze. And I think it's pretty clear Malik Neighbors is the better wide receiver out of those 2. He's currently minus 425 that he'll be drafted before Odunze. I think that's fair, and I think you can, if you're willing to up your wager, you can still win a decent amount of money because I think it's a pretty sure thing that Malik is gonna go before Odunze there. So I like that one. It is minus 425 for Neighbors to go first. So if your blood isn't that rich, I completely get it, and that's why I'm giving you this as pick number 5. But I see this as an absolute lock. So at least a way to get a little bit of money and be pretty sure that that's going to be the outcome.
So Mitch Middlebrook, his nickname that I gave you earlier is Moneyline. Mitch Moneyline Middlebrook, as you see it coming across the bottom of the screen there. He is at Mitchellbrook52 on Twitter. He is a much better gambler than I am, and it's not hard to be a better gambler than me because I don't gamble. But I tell you what, Mitch is really good with this kind of stuff. He is in the know. He's got his ear to the ground, and he does a lot of different gambling things. So give us those 5 kind of in a review real quick, Mitch. We're supposed to have the draft guy, Dom C, coming on with us here shortly. Hopefully he makes it over here. And if not, you and I will just tackle the rest of this podcast by ourselves like we did on the X-Base, buddy.
Yeah, definitely. I'm open for either. Let me see here. I've been clicking around and closing stuff out. So give me a second the first one here I had was Brock Bowers, the over 12.5 position number draft pick in the 2024 NFL draft. I think he will be over the 12th pick in the draft. So that's my number 1 there. Number 2, let's see what that was. Number 2, I believe that was Blake Corum being the first running back drafted in the 2024 draft at plus 400, taken over Jonathan Brooks and Trey Benson. So those are the first 2. And then third, we had, instead of Jaden Daniels at pick number 2, I'm taking Drake May at plus 330. That's who I have there. And then 4 was that Blake Corum being the first running back, Blake Corum being drafted by the LA Chargers. And that one was, let's see here, I believe it's plus 190 to the LA Chargers. So Blake Corum to the LA Chargers at plus 190. And then 5th and final, Malik Neighbors being drafted before Rome Odunze at minus 425. So got a lot of action there. There is plenty of awesome draft props that you can find on really any major sports book. But again, the one I use is the green and white logo. So if you're really looking for these lines specifically, you'll want to go there and get those numbers exactly like they are. Especially if you're doing it soon, I'm sure you'll see those numbers be exactly what they are. So if you heard any where you're like, "Ooh, I need to lock that in now," go on and get that going, because these lines may be moving the closer we get to the NFL draft. And the more that starts getting leaked about these teams and where they're really valuing guys.
Well, yeah, now that Mitch Middlebrook has picked his lines, I mean, they're all going to change now. So, all right, like I said, we're supposed to have the draft guy, Dom C, come on with us here in just a few moments. Hopefully he will do that. Let me give you a couple of things here. House cleaning issues real fast. We are, of course, part of the We Like Sports Network, myself and Mitch both. Mitch is one of the editors here for us. He's going to start helping us with that. He's got a lot of different things that he's going to be doing here. We're trying to get a logo put together for us. We're trying to do a bunch of different stuff, and I know Mitch is tirelessly working on those kinds of things, and he's going to put all that together for us. I do want to say here, WeLikeSportsPC.com is where you can find all of our written material, a couple things by me, some things that Mitch has edited. Let me give you just the past few articles that we've got up, just to show you how much of a diverse website it is. So MILB, the minor leagues in baseball. We got golf. We got the Brewers. We got Washington Commanders for the NFL. We got a great series that we started today, Women in Baseball. If you hop on over there to We Like PC, or We Like Sports with a Z, sportspc.com. You will find all of these things and much more. We got the Knicks from the NBA. We got a bunch of fantasy baseball articles up right at the moment. For those of you who are big into that kind of stuff, which I am, MLW is there. And you're like, what in the world is MLW? That is Major League Wrestling. Yeah, we got some stuff that you may not expect. The Mets in Major League Baseball, some NFL draft stuff, the Rubber Ducks. The what? The Rubber Ducks, right, the Akron minor league baseball team. We've got stories up on them. Of course, Reggie's put a Notre Dame football story up here in the last few days. The Maple Leafs we've got up there. We got a couple gambling spots up. The Rail Raiders, which are the AAA team for the New York Yankees. We got WWE things up there, and we got some boxing stuff up there as well. So again, and this is just in the last 4 or 5 days. So it's not like I'm grabbing stuff from 3 or 4 weeks ago and trying to pass it off like, we just put this stuff up there and you're going to have to search all and scroll all down through, because you're not. You're going to find all of that stuff within the last 20, 30 articles up right now on WeLikeSportsPC.com. I want to mention this. I don't want to somber the mood too much, but I do want to talk about him for just a moment. Yesterday, 20 years ago yesterday, this man died. I don't know, Mitch, you may know where I'm going because we both live here in Arizona. He's got the Arizona ties here. Every time I see him or I think of him, the word sacrifice always comes to mind. And I want to give him a shout out. He was born on 11/6/76, and he passed away yesterday, 4/22/04, 20 years ago. He's one of those guys that if he was still around, he'd be one of those guys on my list to where I'd love to sit down and have a drink with him. I want to give a shout out to Pat Tillman, who passed away 20 years ago yesterday. Go ahead, Mitch. You got anything on Pat Tillman, sir?
Yeah, I do actually. I'm lucky enough to be employed for the number one sponsor of the Pat Tillman Run every year down here in Phoenix. So I was lucky enough to be involved in that this year. I did run it this year as well. I am not a runner, but I did complete the 4.2-mile run that they put on for Pat Tillman every year. That raises a lot of money for the Pat Tillman Foundation and that Pat Tillman Scholarship, which really helps people make it through college and get that extra money, whether they be current service members, former service members, or just part of a military family. So really great foundation that Pat Tillman has left in his absence. We miss him every day down here in Phoenix, down in Arizona. He is their poster boy. And yeah, I can't say enough good things about him. I think that's the perfect word, sacrifice, when you think of Pat Tillman. So I was really proud to be a part of that this year. It was my first time running in that. And like I said, I'm not a runner, but every year around this time, you'll see me completing that 4.2 miles for Pat Tillman and that foundation to try to raise some money for a really great cause, and just somebody that was a really great human. So.
Right. We actually didn't talk about this before the show. A lot of times we say that once or twice before it, but we just kind of throw some things out there to each other. I did not realize that your company that you work for is a big sponsor of that event. I want to go on record right now. Next year, I want to run that with you. I want to be able to help some people out, and I want to be able to do it with this particular platform. I really respect and love the Pat Tillman family and his foundation, and I want to get behind that. So we have decreed it, and it is done. So the WeLikeSports.com platform, WeLikeSportsPC.com platform, right here on our show, the Sportz Truth, and we will get behind it, and we'll do some great things with the Pat Tillman Foundation in the coming years. So if you're looking at your show notes here, buddy, let's get going. The seventh question: do you see any players on any team's roster who may be traded in the upcoming NFL draft? But I have one caveat: you can't say Kyler Murray.
No, I won't. I was honestly planning on leaving this to you. I know you're a big potential trade guy, and you're honestly really good and usually pretty spot on. Now don't let that get to your head. I won't I won't hype you up too much, but I am not good at this kind of stuff. I do not have the foresight for this. So when I was looking through, I was trying to pick up some names, and every time I think I had one, I'd be like, and talk myself out of it. So none really come to mind for me. There usually is one or two, and it's usually a shock to me and everybody. I don't know if it usually is to the players. I think they're kind of more in tune with like, oh, I might be being moved when my team gets on the clock. But for me, I really couldn't pinpoint any of these guys, and I don't want to make myself look that dumb saying somebody, and then they end up signing a 5-year contract to stay in the same place. So I'll leave that one to you if you got any.
You're gonna leave that one to me, huh? Well, I'm scrolling through here for a second. I'm going to give you a couple of big names that I really do think could be on the move. The one name that I think could be on the move is going to be, I just lost his name. The quarterback for the Giants.
Daniel Jones.
Yeah, Daniel Jones. Thank you. I appreciate you bailing me out there, sir. Daniel Jones, I think, is one of these guys where I don't know if the Giants really know what the heck they're going to do, and I don't know if the Giants really have a plan. So if you got a team that calls you and says, hey, we kind of sort of like your quarterback and we missed out, the Denver Broncos probably aren't going to do it because they just traded for the Jets' old quarterback. But, one of these other teams that maybe misses out on one of those top 4 or 5 guys, they may come calling, and that may happen. The one that I think is going to shock people that I really, really, really think has a good possibility of happening here, and this is the Harbaugh effect, man. I think Jim Harbaugh just wants to take this team and make it his, right? And if you've got Justin Herbert on your team that was signed by the regime before you, I could see him taking JJ later on in the draft and then trading Justin Herbert for a ton of draft capital, and then he take that draft capital, turn it around, and be able to build a line, whether it be offensive or defensive. So I think Justin Herbert has a pretty good shot at getting traded, and I think that would be a big shock to most people. But to be very honest with you, it wouldn't be a big shock to me. I'm not a big Harbaugh guy, and I think Harbaugh is, even though as you have listened to our X-Base shows, a lot of you guys have, I know, and you're going to now see us live right here with the We Like Sports PC.com network. You're gonna tell that I'm kind of cocky too, right? And that first responder thing, you kind of have to have that. You kind of have to have that leadership, that go get 'em kind of thing. And a lot of people would say, "Oh, well, you're cocky and conceited too." And I can't say I'm not, but Jim Harbaugh takes it to another level. So I could see him saying, "You know what? It's not that I don't like Justin. It's that he's not my guy, and I want my guy, and my guy's JJ." So, I could see that happen. So the 8th question, we'll kind of stick with quarterbacks here for just a moment. Michael Penix Jr. and Bo Nix, neither of them were invited to the draft to be there live. What's that mean, buddy?
Yeah, that was really surprising to me. To be honest, I didn't know about that previously until I saw these show notes. But really surprising to me. And when I first saw it, I thought, maybe the NFL thinks they're going to fall in this draft. Maybe the NFL wants to save them some embarrassment from what we've seen in the past. Guys like Johnny Manziel, even though, not falling too far, but falling a bit, and all those cameras in your face of, oh, when are they going to be drafted? Here comes another pick, and they're not being drafted. I don't think the NFL does that, and I don't think the NFL cares enough to do that. But it is really head-scratching that you see 2 guys like that are definitely going to be drafted in the first round, not invited, and will not be there in person at the NFL draft in Detroit this Thursday. It's a pretty, concerning, kind of a weird head-scratching thing when you first see it.
And as much as what I'm not going to say, I hate to say it because that just sounds terrible. That's good TV, isn't it? I mean, over the past few years, you've seen these quarterbacks that keep falling and falling, or other athletes that just keep falling in the draft and falling in the draft, and the cameras are always on them. And it's Mel Kiper and all these guys that are like, well, he's still there. I don't know what we're going to do here. I don't know who's going to pick him. And then they start trying to figure out, which team is going to take him at which point. And to me, that's just good television. And I think they're missing out on that. Why in the world would you not invite those guys? Why would you not stick a bunch of cameras in the room where they are and just watch the emotion on their face as they're like, oh my gosh, there goes pick number 25, and I still haven't been taken off the draft. And, not that I'm trying to embarrass the kids or anything like that, but man, they're gonna have a huge spotlight on them anyway, because they're gonna get picked by a National Football League, and they're gonna be in front of millions of fans. Are gonna be on them every weekend, yelling and throwing batteries and all kinds of stuff at them. So, they got to take this on eventually. I really think the NFL is kind of missing out with this whole thing, and I think it's interesting that they are. I don't know. It's a little weird to me, but I also like your angle. Maybe they're going, we don't want to embarrass these kids, and you just made a kind of a bold statement that I'd like to kind of maybe investigate a little bit more. You said Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr. would both be taken in the first round. You really think both of them be taken in the first round?
Yep. I think they will. I think they're good enough talents that you can justify it as well. I think a lot of people are predicting J.J. McCarthy goes before either of those two guys, and I don't really see that. I think they are both going to be before, and that leaves just enough room of teams that, are probably going to be in the market for quarterbacks to draft them in the first round. So, yep, I do.
That's interesting. I'm not saying that you're wrong.
Well, I might be. Only time will tell.
Right, only time will tell. You're 100% right. You're looking at me like, what are you doing? Well, I'm scrolling through Twitter right now, trying to figure out if there's any breaking news going on right at the moment. A lot of times, something breaks while we're on this show, almost every single time. So I'm looking to see if there is going to be something breaking. I don't see anything right this very moment. So I'm going to kind of leave that alone for a second. And we're going to jump to our next question. Which team will improve the most from this year's NFL draft? Question 9 of 12, so our listeners know where we're at and what we're doing here. Again, I'll ask you, sir, which team will improve the most from this year's NFL draft?
Well, I think it's an easy one. It's going to be the Chicago Bears. It's, whether, like you're saying, they move up, take the first pick and the 5th pick, or move back into the top 5 after the first pick, they're definitely going to improve the most. They have 2 of the top 10 picks as it currently sits right now. And I really don't see it like any other team improving as much as they do after getting Caleb Williams, and who knows what they'll do with their 2nd pick. But 2 draft picks in the top 10, as long as they stay put there, I really do think that's going to really help that team improve. And Caleb Williams, if he can be what people think he will be, that's going to be a huge improvement for that team. And it might take a few games. It might even take longer than a year for Caleb Williams to really become a good NFL quarterback. But I think after all things are said and done, they will have the best draft this year.
Okay, I'm going to disagree with you, not because I want to, but because I have to. Okay. The Arizona Cardinals are going to have a fantastic draft. They've got a bunch of picks. The Washington Nationals also are in that mix. I know from the writer that we have at WeLikeSportsPC.com that has put out a couple articles here lately. You can go over there to that particular spot. And are you vaping? Oh my gosh! No, it's going to kill you, son. Right?
A little peek behind the curtain.
Oh, I gotta go into dad mode here for a minute. I wish I was there to smack that thing out of your hand.
Well, I got breaking news for you now. The Milwaukee Bucks just lost to the Indiana Pacers, 125 to 108. So that series is tied 1-1. We'll see if that puts some fire under Giannis to get back into that series. But I found the breaking news for you. I guess not breaking news necessarily, but a big part of the NBA playoffs that could shake things up.
Trying to get your nickname changed to Newsbreaker instead of Moneyline. That's what it is. So I do, though. I think Washington has a really good shot at having a really good, successful draft. I think that the Arizona Cardinals have a pretty good shot. Both of those have like 6 picks in the top 100. So a lot of different things. And you know what? I would not be shocked. I hope this doesn't happen, but I would not be shocked if Arizona trades down from 4 and gets like 8 or 9 picks in the top 100 and really tries to build up both of their lines. Because I really think that's what Monty Austin Fort wants to do. We're going to talk of one specific team, and that's because a lot of our fan base, I know, when the We Like Sports PC.com area is in Cleveland. So let's talk one question about these Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns have 5 picks in the entire NFL draft. The Arizona Cardinals have 6 in the top 100. All right, just to give you some comparisons here. And the Browns have 5 picks in the entire draft. So with that being said, they don't even pick to the 54th pick with their first one. What position do the Cleveland Browns need to address, especially since they don't have very many draft picks in this draft?
Yeah, the Cleveland Browns, it's going to be tough for them to address this, but they really need an offensive tackle. They need somebody to shore up that spot in the line and really give their quarterback some time and protection so that no matter who it is can stay healthy this year, because that's really plagued them in the past few years, and they would have been in a lot better position to compete for the playoffs and late into the postseason if they did have their guys or healthy quarterback play. And luckily so far, a lot of those guys that they've picked up or had as backups have stepped up into that spot and been serviceable in that position. But you really can't keep having your starting quarterbacks or even your second string going down from injuries. And a lot of that comes with keeping them upright and off the ground. And that starts with the offensive line. So they really need to address offensive tackle. I do think they'll add some draft picks because staying at 5 just seems unbelievable. I don't really see them doing that for the entire draft, but they really need to address that offensive tackle position.
All right, we're going to give you a chance to be part of our show here. Of course, you can leave your comments on the show itself. Let me flip over here real fast to make sure that we haven't had anything else, and we have not. We certainly appreciate all of you on with us. Feel free to type something in the comments. We will mention who you are and what you have put on, as long as it's not something that we discussed an hour and a half ago. So like for our listeners to be able to do that. And the other way that you can do it is we've got a poll question up on our Twitter account at the 643 and out pod. You can go over and vote on that real quick before I give out the results. We've already had over 500 people take a look at it, and we certainly appreciate that. The question is this: what is your opinion on mock drafts? And you have 4 choices. Those 4 choices are: I read all of them. The second choice is I don't read any of them. The third one is I do my own draft. And the last one is I only watch the draft. So Cleveland needs to, with only 5 picks in the draft, I agree with you. They need to get alignment. And I don't know how good of one they're going to get because of where they are. They may even want to try to look at getting some more capital. 5 picks in the draft is not much. And I know that, that one quarterback that they got that hasn't given them a whole lot yet cost them quite a few picks. Houston says, thank you very much, Cleveland. We certainly appreciate it. Just look at where Houston is and look at where Cleveland is right at the moment. All you Browns fans out there who are yelling at the television, start typing what you're yelling and give us some feedback on that here as we talk about the Cleveland Browns. We're going to move on to question number 11. Daniels, Williams, and May are the top 3 quarterbacks. Would you agree with that, Mitch?
I would. Yep.
Okay. So then if they're the top 3, I'm going to give you 3 more choices, and you tell me who's number 4. All right? So your choices are McCarthy, Penix Jr., and Bo Nix. Of those 3, who would you rank as the fourth best quarterback? McCarthy, Penix Jr., and Bo Nix, after the top three guys, May, Williams, and Daniels.
Yeah, I think it's Penix Jr. I really think he has the best arm talent out of any of the guys, and most of the time, the best decision making as well. I think I don't really question McCarthy's decision making very often, but I don't think he's got very good arm talent, and that at the NFL level is really going to hurt you, and it's gonna make your job as an NFL quarterback a lot more difficult. So I like Penix Jr. out of those, kind of second tier guys, if you want to call them that. I do think there's, a pretty clear top three in this draft, in Williams, Daniels, and May. And I really think there's a big gap between even the 4 and 5 and then 6 in McCarthy. I really, the Michigan offense really helped J.J. McCarthy look like a solid quarterback, probably better than he was. But he got bailed out a lot of times. And I think if you're looking for a guy that can win you ball games, it's not J.J. McCarthy. J.J. McCarthy can help you not lose ball games. But is he a guy that I want and can confidently send out there and say, you know what, go win us this ball game? You got a minute and a half to drive down the field. No, I'm not putting any money on that, and I'm not putting my eggs in that basket. So I like Penix Jr. out of that crew, but I think it's pretty clear, at least to me, that JJ is number 6 out of those guys.
Okay. Again, I'm not going to agree. I'm not going to disagree with you on that part of it, because I certainly think that you're right on there. I would put McCarthy at the third of these three. I mean, we've already said these are kind of the secondary guys here. I still think that they have the ability to be able to be very talented and to be someone who can make a difference in the team that chooses them. But I'm going to disagree with you on who is 4 and who is 5. I think we both agree that JJ is 6. I'm going to put Bo Nix in front of Michael Penix Jr. And there's really and honestly only one reason. And that reason is because Bo Nix has been there and done that more. He has the intangibles that I think you want. And I'm a big intangible guy. I think all of these guys are talented, and I think all of these guys can make the throws. Some of them a little better than others. Yes, I'll give you that. And the other thing is there's a knock on Penix Jr. because of some of the injuries that he's had. So I don't want to say that he's a glass guy, because I don't think that. But if I'm ranking these guys and I have my GM hat on, I'm going to put Bo at 4 and Michael Penix Jr. at 5. Now, if I get there and I'm trying to get a quarterback and Penix is the guy there and Bo Nix is already taken, I'm probably still going to pick Michael Penix Jr. because I like him that much. I'm with you that there's not you said there was a ton of separation. I don't really think there's a whole lot of separation between Bo and Michael, but I do think there's a big separation between Bo, Michael, and McCarthy. So as we look at those quarterbacks, again, we've agreed that Williams, May, and Daniels are 1, 2, and 3. And then I'm going to say that Bo Nix is 4, Penix Jr. is at 5, and JJ is at 6. Mitch disagrees with me a little bit as he puts Penix Jr. at 4, Bo Nix at 5, and JJ at 6. So we'll have to see who's going to get drafted where and what kind of opportunity these secondary guys are going to get once the NFL draft is completed. So that's question number 11. We'll do the poll question here in just a moment. Again, you have the opportunity to go over and vote on that really quickly if you would like. I want to make sure that I got everything here out of the way. I'm looking at all my notes, and I think I mentioned everything that I want to mention. So again, the poll question, if you want to go over to at the 643 and out pod, is as follows. What is your opinion on mock drafts? Over 530 people have viewed this, and we certainly appreciate that. Here are your 4 choices for that particular poll question. I read all of them. I don't read any of them. I do my own draft, and I only watch the draft. So we'll take a look at that. We'll get each of our opinions, and then we'll do the consensus from our viewership as well here in just a moment. 12, question number 12. I think this is an interesting question, and I was I really want to get your opinion on this one because I think you're a little bit different than I am, and we have a little bit different viewpoints on some of these draft picks. So when you're evaluating talent, right? If you were a GM, if you were sitting in that room back there, and you've got the means in which to do this, when you're evaluating the talent, what means more to you? Yeah, man, smack that fly or that gnat away, man. Don't be. Yeah. I think it's kicking your butt right now. So when you're evaluating these, which of these four things mean the most to you? Here's the first one: college that they came from. Does the thing that mean the most to you their bloodline, their measurables, or their characters on the field? Those are the different things that I have given you to choose from. Let me give you those things one more time. It would be character on the field, measurables, their bloodlines, or the college in which they come from. What do you got?
Yeah, I'm a big measurables guy, and I think that comes back to my fandom in baseball and the ability of an organization in baseball to kind of coach and shape their guys into who they want to be. Obviously, that doesn't happen as much in the National Football League, and really doesn't happen much of, if at all, in the NFL. But I think that still kind of transfers over for me. It really is part of what I'm looking at the most, and if these guys have the measurables, if they're guys that I can trust to kind of learn and grow in the position at the National Football League level, I think I feel more confident about them than I would, grading them on any other of those choices. So definitely for me, the measurables when I'm looking at these guys.
All right. So as you can see, since we're visual now and not just doing the X-Base thing, he's smiling real big for us here. Dom C of Prospect Perspective is with us. How you doing, Dom?
I'm well, guys. Thanks for having me. And sorry I got out late, but I was I got caught up filming something. I had scheduled something. Obviously, this is a really big week for me. I do a lot of draft content, so I just got caught up and it ran later than it was. So my apologies for hopping on late, but I'm glad I can be here with you guys.
No, that's great, man. We appreciate you coming on with us. So Dom C here is a draft analyst of Talking Jets Network. He also has a draft-centric YouTube channel that you can check out called Prospect Project with Dom C. And, of course, his Twitter handle is DC, both capitalized, _, and then NY Jets, and the NY and the J are all capitalized as well here. Dom, let me get you caught up here for a second. I'm going to ask you a couple of these questions that we've already gone over real quick, and we'll kind of go from there. All right. Sure. So, do you see any players on the team's rosters that would be traded at the draft? Not just draft picks, but maybe players that are on other teams' rosters that could be traded.
Wow. Good question. I think I wouldn't be surprised if you see a really big name receiver go. I know there's a lot of buzz around Brandon Ayuk maybe not getting the contract that he wanted. I think he could be, I think he could be in play. I still think that T. Higgins could be in play as well, possibly being moved, and Cincinnati trying to recoup maximum value for him. I think both of those guys could probably be had relatively inexpensively, compared to what they can offer you on the field right away. The big thing with him, obviously, with T. Higgins on the tag is you got to find a team that can fit that contract in there, because you have to make room for that contract before you can renegotiate it. So I think that's going to either limit the teams that can go to him or limit the kind of capital that they can get in return for him. But those are two of the probably bigger names that I think could go come draft day, just because the wide receiver is a position. Obviously, positional value is high. Those two guys are two of the top, say, 15, 20 wide receivers in the league. They come in and will affect the game, affect the offense in a positive way, and teams just need big, sure-handed, agile, short area, quick steps that Ayuk has, or that big X build receiver in Higgins. I think those two are going to be guys that draw a lot of interest. I'd be ready and willing to think that Pittsburgh could be in the mix for one of them. Carolina is obviously another team that could be in the mix for one of them. And a sneaky one that I wouldn't rule out either is Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville is going to be in the wide receiver market. And they got a little bit of room to play with. So if you bring in a big guy, like say T. Higgins into Jacksonville, he'll complement the guys that they have there. Christian Kirk, who's mainly a slot guy, I think he could do wonders for that offense.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think if they would move Christian Kirk to the slot more, and they would get a big receiver on the outside, I think that would help them in twofold as far as the Jaguars go. Michael Penix Jr. and Bo Nix, neither were actually invited to the draft. Dom, do you think that means anything? Are we going to read anything into that?
Well, no, I'm not going to. And here's why I'll say it. I'm not trying to push back at you, Mike, but they might have been invited and just chose not to go, because that happens a lot as well, right? It's I'm sure they extended a ton of invites, and sometimes people just want to I remember quite a few years back when Joe Thomas was arguably the best player in his draft class, drafted third or fourth overall, and he chose to spend the day fishing with his old man, out on the lake. So sometimes people don't want to be the center of attention, not the bright lights, big city, kind of folk. I also think that they're probably trying to gauge who is not going to be sitting in the green room too long. I mean, they did it last year. I think it was Brian Branch was invited, and he ended up not getting taken till day 2. And the Tennessee kid, the quarterback, why his name skipped my mind right now, but he was also invited and
Levis, right?
Levis, yes, that's it, and slipped to day 2, and that just makes an awkward situation for everyone, for the NFL and for the player himself. So I think they try and listen. Reality is that there's no guarantee that Penix or Nix will be. They're not lockstep first round picks, in my opinion. So maybe that has something to do with it. I wouldn't really read into it. They could have gotten invites and declined.
Yeah, see, Mitch floated the idea that the NFL may not have wanted to embarrass them if they didn't get picked in the first round.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, they've done that, right? I mean, it goes back to when Aaron Rodgers, sat. He was a consensus the best quarterback in that class, and ended up sitting there, and the poor kid had to sit there until the late 20s when he went. And then, like we talked about, Levis and Brian Branch last year, there's always one or two guys there that, excuse me, that are borderline. That just makes for an awkward situation. I know Darius Robinson got an invite and he accepted it, and I think you can put him right in that area too. Like, there's no guarantee that he's going to be there, but maybe they know something that we don't.
Right, we're talking to Dom C. He's the draft analyst for Talking Jets Network. He also has a draft-centric, if I can talk for a moment. He has a draft-centric podcast on YouTube. It's called Project. I'm sorry. Yeah, there you go. Thanks for completing that for me.
Yeah, no worries.
So talk to me a little bit. What do you put on that show? I know that it's one of these things that I thought about getting in touch with you on. You said on because I watched a few of your shows before we did all this. You said that the Arizona Cardinals pick at number 4 was like the one that they're not going anywhere. They're going to make sure they make that pick. And I'm not sure if I agree with you. Why do you think that pick is so solid at number 4 for the Arizona Cardinals?
Well, there's a couple reasons I think that. One, to me, I think when you have a guy in why I think they're sticking there is because I think that's smack dab in the middle of Marvin Harrison. Marvin Harrison's still on the board. To me, I know the word blue chip is used way too often, but he probably fits that bill more so than anybody else in this draft class. Not only is he super talented, but it's also a position of need for Arizona. On top of that, I think Arizona already has 6 or 7 picks in the top 100, top 110. So they have a lot of draft capital. I just don't necessarily see the value in moving down, getting off of a premier pick like Marvin Harrison to get more capital when you already have tons of you already have 2 first rounders. You have, like I said, 6 picks in the top 100. How much more can you really bring on? Now, Arizona has plenty of holes. That's fair, but I think they can still stick and pick arguably the best player in the draft at a position of need and still have 5 other picks in the top 100 to fill some of those holes throughout the 53-man roster. So for me, to me, that's a no-brainer. Now, could I be wrong? I've been wrong before, So,
well, you're not allowed to be wrong on this show. I don't know if
yeah.
you came on, but that's a prerequisite, sir.
Yeah, so that's really the main reason why I said that. If they were in a position like Chicago, where Chicago only has 4 picks in the draft, I could totally see them being up for business. But at some point, I think the NFL, I think the fans in us, want or always tend to lean towards trading down and picking up more capital and doing all that stuff because it makes it more exciting. I think at some point, when you're in position to get premier talent, you got to stick there and pick it. So I think 3 could be up for grabs if the right guy doesn't fall for New England. I think 5 is definitely up for grabs in San Diego, or not San Diego, in the LA Chargers. But for me, I think 4 is I'd be willing to bet that they're sticking there, and Marvin Harrison, if he's available, is going to be the pick.
Sounds good. So Mitch and I were on this question. We were kind of discussing this when you jumped in. So let's get you caught up on this question as well. And then we'll just kind of keep moving forward here. We'll do our poll here in just a moment, as well as we are discussing with Mitch Middlebrook and with Dom C here as well. So when you're evaluating talent, which means more to you? And I'll give you these 4 choices.
Okay.
College that they are from, their bloodline, their measurables, or their character on and off the field. Now, Mitch, you chose measurables. Why did you choose measurables?
Yeah, I think that's really just out of those 4 choices, what's going to determine the success of a player in the NFL more than, the others. I think you can have the other stuff, but if you have the measurables, that's what I'm going to look at every time.
Yeah, I'd probably based off of those 4 options, I'd probably lean with Mitch on that. And listen, I think the NFL teams in the war room are they're getting down to, we're talking 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch on the arms and the hands and the speed numbers. How important not only the 40 is. I think the 40 is it's kind of an antiquated, measuring barometer for NFL. I think a lot more people, depending on their position, are more concerned about how athletic they are, right? Their broad jump and their high jump. About obviously we talked about the arm length, about the short area quickness. So the 10-yard splits go, factor in a lot more. And obviously you see, I do a lot of Jets content, and I'm a huge Jets fan. And I'll tell you that there hasn't been an offensive lineman that Joe Douglas has taken that has a 10-yard split more than, higher than 175. So he, really, really relies and he factors on that get off. So based on those 4 things, I'd say probably the measurables. I'm a little bit old school. I'd always go for production over anything. What I'm seeing on film and what they're doing, when in the heat of the battle is probably the most prominent. Outside of that, I'd probably say the measurables are the most important factor in what moves a guy up or down somewhere in the draft.
All right, so for both of you here, just a second. So if someone comes from the SEC and someone comes from the Pac-12, you don't think the SEC guy has got a leg up on the guy from the Pac-12? Mitch, I'll start with you. Hang on. Mitch, go ahead.
I don't think it's big enough to move the needle that much.
Yeah.
I'd like to see them more from the SEC. Obviously, they've probably been in those bigger moments. They've had some of those higher pressure games, and they've been in stadiums that are just absolutely electric and kind of that playoff atmosphere. Probably more so than a guy from the Pac-12 would be, but I really don't think it would be enough to where I'd be worried. And if I was, that probably shines some more light on, do we think this guy can even handle being at the top of the football game? And that raises a lot more questions than just the what I would say is nominal between, different conferences.
Yeah.
All right.
I'd agree with everything that Mitch said. If you told me it was a guy coming out of the SEC at Alabama or coming out of, the FBS at South Dakota State, then you might be able to make an argument because the level of competition that they're facing is just, head and shoulders better. Case in point, one of the bigger names in this tackle draft class. I'm not saying bigger at top of the first round, but Kieran Amagaje, great prospect, checks off every boxes in terms of his measurables, his length, his play style, his physicality. But the big question mark, the big pink elephant in the room is that he played at Yale. You know what I mean? So I think that might ding him more than a guy like, I don't know, like let me see. Armarius Mims, he's an SEC tackle. Now, again, prospect-wise, they're completely they're different. Mims is obviously a better prospect, but if they were relatively similar, they both check off all those boxes in terms of their skill sets and their measurable makeup. But one played at Yale, one played at Georgia. If all things were equal, I'd probably side with the SEC guy. But when you're talking Big Ten or SEC, I don't think that comes into play, or two big Power 5 conferences, so on and so forth. I don't know how much that comes into play.
All right, can you guys still hear me? By the way, I hit a button over here. I wasn't sure if I got myself back on.
Yep, we got you.
Excellent. The last thing I'm going to give one to Mitch. I want to give one to Dom here. So okay. I want to give you the bloodline one, and then Dom, I want to give you the character on and off the field. So you guys both pick measurables. I personally would pick character on and off the field because that's what I'm kind of after. I don't care how good the guy is on the field. If he's a knucklehead off the field and he does stupid crap, I don't want him on my team. So that's just kind of the way I feel about it. Mitch, what about the bloodline? Marvin Harrison has a junior at the end of his name. You don't think that made any kind of difference when they were selecting him, or when they select him?
No, I think with or without the junior, the talent that Marvin Harrison Jr. has, he would be in that the same conversation that he's in right now. I don't think if you saw a wide receiver with doing what Marvin Harrison Jr. can do, if he was from a bloodline that nobody's ever heard of, nobody's ever played above high school football, whatever it is, I don't think that's changing anything for you. I think in some cases, it can kind of add to it, but you gotta have everything else aligned with that to where the bloodline really even comes into question or is even a topic of discussion.
All right, Dom, what about the character on and off the field?
Yeah, and I think you make a fair point, Mike. I think that's definitely something that does factor in, probably as high as where they're measuring out. T'Vondre Sweat, University of Texas, perfect example. Guy who's getting first round buzz and has first round caliber talent, let alone size and all that. But just last week or less than a week ago, gets popped for I believe it was driving under the influence of some sort. There are teams that, the character, there's definitely teams where the character is probably a character flag will take them completely off the board. So I think that's, you make a fair argument, Mike. I think that's probably more prevalent, more prominent than I had led on to. But yeah, but there's also, coaches are the most arrogant people in the world, right? And there's always going to be that one coach that says, I can change him, or I can fix him, or I can get him up. And sometimes through, just naive eyes, somebody is going to say, oh, he's too talented. I don't care about the rest of the stuff. Look what he's going to help us win games on the field. And sometimes it proves out right. And a lot of the times it doesn't as well. So character issues and those red flags probably are more prominent than than I led on to believe, but there's still those people who think they can fix people. So I push comes to shove. If you got a guy that has, you got an offensive tackle that has 35-inch arms, but he got into a barroom brawl when he was in college. He might be off half the team's boards because of that barroom brawl. but there's going to be half of those offensive line coaches that say, "Oh, bring him in. I can fix him. I'll work with those tools and keep him under lock, stock, and barrel." For example, Travis Kelce, great example. We all know how good he is, right?
Right.
He got kicked off of his college team at one point for a drug charge, and the only way he was back, is he went and he moved in, and his brother was pretty much his bodyguard. Jason Kelce kind of, took Travis under his wing and made sure that he was protected. So it can work out, and sometimes it doesn't.
Right. So we got one more thing we need to do, which is get to our poll question here. We've been on for 2 hours, and it'll be over 15 minutes before we're all said and done here. I had a lot of viewership here. A lot of you have stuck with us, and we certainly appreciate that. Dom C., we thank you for coming on with us. His information there is scrolling across the bottom, where you can check him out on his Twitter and also on his YouTube channel. Mitch has got his right there, at Mitch Middlebrook 52. Point to it, buddy. Well, go ahead. See if you can do that. There we go. All right. Okay. So the poll question is this, and you can go over to our Twitter, which is at the643andoutpod. The question is this: what is your opinion of mock drafts? It's a pretty simple question, and here are the 4 different responses. I will give Mitch the chance to do this one first, and then we'll go to Dom and find out which one of these what is where they would each fall. I read all of them. I don't read any of them. I do my own draft, or I only watch the draft. Mitch, where are you at on drafts?
Out of these, I guess I really only watch the draft. Obviously, Mike, I'm more of a baseball guy, but I do really get pumped up. I'm not a guy that's looking at mock drafts months in advance, but April rolls around, and April 1st, first week of April, I'm going to get myself really in touch, or as much as I can, in touch with some mock drafts. So I'm kind of in the camp of like, well, I start looking late, but I definitely look at a few and kind of, at least for the Lions, my favorite team, I'm going to be in touch with, what their draft mindset is going to be like. So, but you better believe that first night of the draft, especially round 1, I'm sitting down and I'm watching the whole thing and making a night of it. So.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, buddy, you need to do a better job here. I mean, look at Dom. Look at Dom and all his stuff in the background. Look at this sexy guy with all his stuff in the background back here, and then look at you. You got a wall. All right, you need to step up your game here and put a jersey back there or something, or I don't know. Go to Blockbuster and get a standee or something, or something back there, for God's sake.
Yeah, I just might.
Where are you at, buddy? You read them all? You don't read any of them? You do your own, or you only watch?
Well, listen, man, I'm knee deep in scouting reports and draft content almost year round. Like I start in the summer getting myself ready. So I'd probably fall in line with, I read them all. And I don't necessarily read them all, but I definitely listen to podcasts or thumb through stuff or thumb through articles just to see what other people are kind of vibing with, to see if it aligns with kind of my thoughts and so on and so forth, and opens me up to different options or suggestions or opportunities to something that maybe outside the norm that I'm not really thinking about. So being a draft guy, being really knee deep into it, like I read them all, man.
All right. We certainly appreciate the fact that you do read them all. We appreciate your knowledge because you start so early. I started about 2 weeks ago, prepping for this. All right. So, again, right at the moment, it's pretty close. 35.7% of our viewers either say they read them all or they only watch the draft. 21.4% of them say that I don't read any of them, and 7.1% say I do my own. So we appreciate all 536 people who took a look at this and were able to do something with us tonight. Dom C., we certainly appreciate you coming on with us, buddy, as we wrap everything up. Cowboy Reggie, we had him on earlier. We really appreciate him. Mitch Moneyline Middlebrook, thank you for being on with us, buddy. This is the Sportz Truth. I couldn't even remember what the heck the show was called. This is the Sportz Truth. Myself and Mitch Middlebrook are the 643 and out guys. and Dom C here at the bottom. Make sure you check out his YouTube channel. Tell us a little bit about your YouTube channel, Dom. What can we expect from you, buddy?
If you like the draft content, we do a lot of prospect breakdowns, a lot of positional breakdowns. Like I said, I do a lot of writing for different draft related publications. So you get some of my scouting reports, you get some mock drafts, you get a lot of people that are in the know in the scouting world that come on and just get in the weeds and talk about NFL draft prospects year round.
Right, I know you got a bunch of episodes up. I've listened to some of them myself. They are very informative. Mitch, 30 seconds, buddy. What you want to add to the end?
Go Lions.
That's it, huh? All right, and that's fine, buddy. You're allowed to do that. Hey, I want to make sure that I give We Like Sports.pc a shout out here as well. They have given us an opportunity to do this. This is our very first one. We're going to have a whole lot more. We got a bunch of people who have jumped online with us. We've been doing this for 2 hours and 20 minutes now. My mouth and tongue is getting a little tired, but I want to say that I have a job that feeds my family, and then I have a passion that feeds my soul, and that's what this is for me. And I know Mitch and I know Dom feel the same way. We have a passion as sports fans, and we want to share it with you. Last thing, as we always say, the only thing that's fair in life is a baseball that is sitting between the third and first base line. For Dom C, for Cowboy Reggie, for Mitch Middlebrook, myself, Mike Valentine, we are signing off. Thank you very much. You guys have a great evening.